I don't know about you guys, but like life has been pretty weird recently. Like there's this, I don't know, like salt in the air. And why is there rust on my door? What the hell? Hello, my name is Freyr. I am your favorite local forest gremlin, a Polish sociology student and a pop culture enthusiast. And today I have the honor and the privilege of talking about one of the greatest albums of all time, or my favorite album of all time. Quickly, before I start the yapping, you can subscribe to my channel, please do that. You can like the video, you can share it around, you can comment down below, you can also follow me on all of my socials, which are listed in the description box below, as well as in my link tree, which I also have there. So go and do that. I will really appreciate it. I've already done a video about the Tortured Poets Department, the standard edition, and I was kind of gearing up to do a video about the anthology. But then I thought to myself, what is like the greatest album I could talk about in the month of August? Let's just say that the answer was pretty clear. So in honor of this, of course, being the time of the year that Taylor Swift invented and it being the 5th anniversary of Folklore, I will be covering the album. I will be going over every single track. We're going to be talking about the themes, the music, everything. It's going to be really fun. But first, I was actually thinking of maybe doing like a quick introduction of myself in the context of this album, like kind of telling you guys what background I have with this project. That can be later helpful to like help you guys understand why I gravitate towards certain songs a little bit more than others. So as we all know, the pandemic was a dark time for everybody. I was 15 at the time. I was a freshman. I just started high school and everything went to shits because COVID, yay. A lot of us were going through a lot of things during the pandemic, whether it was work related or just health related or even mental health related. And I was no different, even though obviously I wasn't like a medical professional working overtime in a hospital trying to save people's lives, or I wasn't necessarily sick. I actually never got COVID during the pandemic. I only got it after. So that was fun. But still, like being locked in my house and basically sitting in front of a computer every single day because I had school and just not really seeing anybody outside of my family was really tough for me. I'm like a very weird mix of like introvert and extrovert, where like I need human contact, but only when I want it, which is kind of weird. But like, I don't know. Sometimes I get really tired of people and I just don't want to be around them for like literal weeks. And then suddenly I'm like, yeah, let's go out, let's go have fun, let's get drunk, whatever. And like, I feel like I just needed more human contact during the pandemic. But yeah, for most of the pandemic, I just felt like really numb, I guess. Like every single day was blending into one another. There was nothing meaningful happening. I don't know, I was just really down. I felt nothing and everything at once. Does that make sense? But I didn't necessarily have like a way of expressing that frustration and all of those feelings that I had. So I just kept sitting in my room, doing my homework, watching YouTube, sleeping, watching YouTube again, sleeping. It was like a constant cycle and I really disliked it. And then just when I needed it the most, a certain blonde woman took to Instagram or Twitter or wherever you saw the announcement first to tell her millions of followers that she would be dropping a new album literally the next day. And that album was called Folklore. I listened to it a couple days after it came out when I saw a clip from the Cardigan music video. I love like role play, fantasy stuff. I was really into that at that age and I kind of still am, not gonna lie. So when I saw her like traveling through all those different worlds with like the power of music, I was like, okay. I was never expecting Taylor Swift of all people to do this, but like, I am intrigued. Let me see what this is. I obviously knew of Taylor before, but like, I wasn't necessarily too familiar with her discography. I was aware of like the hits, you know, the Shake It Offs, the Blank Spaces, the Look What You Made Me Do, but like, I didn't really know the deep cuts. I didn't really know what the whole hubbub was about. I was really, actually, my music taste before the pandemic was very very much all over the place. It was just literally me listening to some like random songs I found on the internet. There was no cohesion to that. There was no definition. There was no actual like name for that. I was just listening to random stuff. Like I was the kind of person that would put their liked playlist on Spotify on shuffle and just listen to that. Horrifying. So I just sat one day on my bed, pressed play on Folklore out of just pure curiosity, and came out a changed person. I've never up until that point listened to like an album the whole way through and like really delved into the world of it. So that was also different for me. I was all over the place. I still am, but at least now that mess is slightly more defined. I wouldn't necessarily like look at the grander context of the songs. I wouldn't necessarily pay that much attention to the lyrics either. So this album really changed the way that I listen to music now and how I am able to like identify worlds within music and how I'm supposed to like interpret certain lyrics or how I'm supposed to interpret certain musical stylings. This album made me really appreciate like the emotional content that also can get attached to music. But most importantly, this album was just full of emotions. It was full of joy, of sadness, of anger, of frustration, of confusion. But like that was perfect. That was all I needed. I could cry to it. I could dance to it. I could imagine my characters that I would be creating for different role plays in those worlds. I could like genuinely write entire like paragraphs around these songs. It was insane. It gave me a place of escape, which, okay, we kind of actually even hear about in songs like I Hate It Here on the anthology. And later down the line, that same year, we saw Folklore's sister album be released. That was, of course, Evermore. And that just kind of sealed the deal. Like, at that point, I was already just being like, okay, I'm a Swiftie now. Cool. I think around the time I was also like figuring out who I was as a person, and this album kind of maybe not necessarily like did that for me, but helped me and pushed me in certain right directions that really formed the person that I am today. And for that, I will always be grateful. Folklore is oftentimes considered to be Taylor's magnum opus, aka like her best album ever, her best work. And even though I love all of her discography, I pretty much have to agree. The cultural impact of an album like this being released in the middle of the global pandemic is insane. And that impact later got honored with an Album of the Year award at the Grammys in 2021. And that was so deserved. I'm so happy that this album is an AOT because it truly is. Like, this is not even like Album of the Year. This is Album of the Decade. This is Album of the Century for me. In my opinion, this album showcases Taylor's true talents, and this is one of the building blocks to that legendary status that we now know her for. You know, back then, she already was a pop star, but now she's much more than that. She's like an actual legend. She's an icon. And listen, an artist that is capable of creating something like Folklore is deserving of that status.
And clap!
So with that slightly schmaltzy intro, let's get into all of the songs. Let's analyze their contents. Let's analyze their music. Let's dive deep into the world of Folklore. And we're going to be starting with the first track, which is of course called The One.
But it would have been fun if you would have been the one.
The One is such an intriguing opener. This song is about alternative timelines and about how everything could have been different had Taylor's wishes came true about a certain relationship. I do, however, think that this is like the perfect album opener. Like, this sets the mood so well. It already creates some themes that we later see in the album, and I think it also addresses some things that were needed to be addressed before we can like fully immerse ourselves in the world of Folklore, if that makes sense. Also, opening the album with lines, "I'm doing good, I'm on some new shit," is like the epitome of perfection. Also, this song got further explained in Folklore Long Pond studio sessions, which I will be referencing a lot in this video. I recently rewatched it. Still as beautiful as the first time I saw this. I love that documentary so much. It's like a little private concert almost. This could be about updating a lover on, what you're doing, but also this could be like taken a little bit more literally. It could be, I'm doing a new genre of music now. Because she literally is. The greatest films of all time were never made. I love this line for so many reasons. First of all, the metaphor of the film is like very, very important to this album. We see this a lot in certain songs, like, for example, This Is Me Trying. We see this in Exile. We also see this in Hoax. I love an overarching theme for an album. I just do. Film is, in my opinion, a metaphor for a relationship. Every film, no matter how great it is, it always has a structure to it. It has a start, then all of the action, and then it has an end. So no matter how epic it is, or how bad it is, I guess, it always starts and it always ends. That being a metaphor for a relationship is kind of sad if you think about it, but also very, very deep. I think this honestly could be like a reference to something like LOML that we see on the Tortured Poets department, where, it was legendary, it was momentary, because it was legendary, but in the end, it comes to an end, if you know what I'm saying. Also, this entire album feels cinematic to me. Like, this is a soundtrack to a movie. Or even better, every single song on this album could be made into like a 2-hour length movie. And I need that to happen, actually, because I would lose my shit at any movie inspired by any of these songs. Like, I would genuinely be so into that idea. It's never happening, but I will love that. And actually analyzing this line in the context of the song, I think that this almost means that the relationship she was in seemed perfect, but almost too perfect to last. The greatest films were never made because perfection is just impossible. There's always something that's going to be off. Although I would argue that some of the greatest films of all time were made, like The Devil Wears Prada, Legally Blonde, Mamma Mia. I would really like to see Taylor's Letterboxd account though. I think that'd be fun. What do you guys think? Like, what movies would be in her top 4? I have no idea. And if you never bleed, you're never gonna grow. And it's all right now. The hurt is necessary to grow as a person. And at the time it hurts, but then you move on and you realize that that hurt was actually necessary for you to get to the point that you are in life now. I love how that kind of ties back to Invisible String, but we're gonna get there. But we were something, don't you think so? Roaring 20s, tossing pennies in the pool. And if my wishes came true, it would have been you. The relationship was something more than just a fling. It wasn't that surface level. It was something more. I think the Roaring 20s line is also really interesting because this is considered to be a historical period. Of course, this is the 1920s. And this is supposed to be the period where art was really, really growing and there was a lot of dynamics to the way that it was developing. So this time is basically remembered for its artistic output as well as dynamic cultural landscape. And I think that relates to Taylor's life. In her 20s, she's made a lot of art. You can take this literally. They were Roaring 20s because she went through a lot of things during that time period and she still made art through it. And if her wishes came true, she would still be with that last person she was dating. And maybe she would have never gotten to a point of, for example, writing Folklore. So ultimately, she sees that maybe it's for the better that things didn't work out. We never painted by the numbers, baby, but we were making it count. This relationship was not normal. They weren't doing what like regular couples do, but that doesn't disqualify it as like a legitimate relationship. It was legitimate to them, even if it was slightly different from like societal expectations of what a relationship should look like. I persist and resist the temptation to ask you, if one thing had been different, would everything be different today? This is that alternative, thinking how different life would be if this relationship would have lasted. Would everything be different or just that one thing? It's kind of like the paradox of like time travel that you oftentimes see in movies where like they travel back in time, change one thing and suddenly everything is different, or nothing changes, or even a secret third thing, I don't know. I think it's something really relatable though, because we all kind of think about that, like some decisions that we made in life and how they impacted our life and how maybe everything could have been different, how we made a different decision. In my defense, I have none for digging up the grave another time, but it would have been fun if you would have been the one. I love this because the digging up of the grave another time is basically revisiting an old relationship, an old story, and writing about it again, which many people dislike when Taylor Swift does that. Like, look at Torture Poets. She got a lot of whacking. For some reason, they just want her to move on. But I personally love seeing that because time gives you perspective. Time gives you growth and perspective, I would argue. And you can have a totally different outlook on certain relationships when you grow up. You know, we see that a lot on albums like TTPD when we get songs like The Manuscript or Cassandra or Thank You Amy. And even I would argue that like on the Midnights, that would be something like Would've, Could've, Should've. This song is a piano ballad with like a nice beat underneath. And this is, of course, a simple song, but still a perfect song. I think its sonical landscape is like representative of the basics of what folklore is sonically, like the kind of sounds, the kind of instruments that it uses. I also love Taylor's little like vocalization moments. They happen throughout the album, and I wouldn't say that this is like the best example, but I really, really love them here. I love the one. It's a perfect song. I think it addresses what it needs to address, and I think it's like a little step into the world of folklore. But I would argue that the real introduction to folklore is Cardigan.
I felt like I was an old cardigan under someone's bed.
This song is known by many Taylor Swift fans and many Taylor Swift haters because many people find out that she wrote it or that she's singing it and are like, what? Taylor Swift? Capable of high art? What do you mean? This song is insane, instrumentally, vocally, and lyrically. I just love it. It's our first song of the love triangle between Betty, James, and Augustine. And okay, I have some opinions on that love triangle, specifically on one person in it. But this song is like a slight introduction to that because the first time I was listening to it, I didn't catch it at all. I was just like, oh my God, this is like this is a sad song. This is a really sad song. And then I was made aware that this is actually like a callback to Betty and to August. And I was like, okay, I am not smart enough to understand that. Now I am. This is said to be from the perspective of Betty. And even though this is meant to be like a fake scenario, I actually think that there is a lot in this song that really clearly also parallels Taylor's life. Vintage tea, brand new phone, high heels on cobblestones. When you are young, they assume you know nothing. Sequin smile, black lipstick, sensual politics. When you are young, they assume you know nothing. Like, if those lines aren't a depiction of her career, then I don't know what is. So vintage tea and the brand new phone would be red, and the like entire hipster aesthetic that it had. High heels on cobblestones to me is 1989 and how difficult that era was for her, you know, walking in heels on cobblestones. Good luck. The sequin smile and the black lipstick would be Reputation, of course. And then the sensual politics, in my opinion, would be Lover. And when you're young, they assume you know nothing, despite how much art you produce or how much of an icon you are. This is one of the most relatable lines in the history of music. Like, if you've never felt like this, I am jealous. This is such a universal experience, no matter if you're like a teenage high schooler or whether you are a global phenomenon. And when I felt like I was an old cardigan under someone's bed, you put me on and said I was your favorite. When this person feels unlovable and not seen, someone puts them on like an old cardigan. But I think that the put on part could also mean that they lied to them. Like, you know, James cheating on Betty, but also like putting someone on as in like maybe using their fame or their face to gain what you want. I feel like there are many ways that you can interpret this. A friend to all is a friend to none. Chase two girls, lose the one. What a line. I don't even know I have to say anything here. Like, this is just epic writing and a universal truth. You drew stars around my scars, but now I'm bleeding. Taylor Swift. How dare you? This person made her feel special despite all of the scars of the past and drew stars around them, you know, made her feel beautiful again despite them. But now they are open again. But I knew you'd linger like a tattoo kiss. I knew you'd haunt all of my what ifs. The smell of smoke would hang around this long, because I knew everything when I was young. So the what ifs part to me is very interesting here, considering that right before the song we talked about the one, which is obviously about the what ifs. Also the what ifs kind of remind me of like something like Midnight, honestly. Like the entire concept for Midnight, it was the 13 sleepless nights scattered around her life. I feel like that kind of fits the theme as well. The smoke means something that lingers, even if it was, you know, from a long time ago. Like if you've ever been near, like say a campfire or something, you know that your clothes and you will be smelling of smoke. This is something that has a lasting effect. And this, in my opinion, would be a relationship. Like she knew that it would have a lot of impact on her life. I knew you'd miss me once the thrill expired and you'd be standing in my front porch light. And I knew you'd come back to me. The connection to Betty here is so crazy. I love a story. And even though I don't think Cardigan is just about the love triangle, I think that this kind of callback and how all of the songs connect is so smart. Like genuinely meta. That is a 3D chess move. Also this man. Betty. We shouldn't be taking him back, in my opinion, but more on James in a minute. Another thing that I really, really love about this song is, of course, the music video that accompanies it. We see Taylor travel through different worlds and different settings by playing the piano. And in my opinion, this is literally how music works. Like, this is how music can transport you into different worlds, but just made a visual. It's so smart. Music is the true superpower in the hands of humanity. And I believe that. That is like my main belief. Music is magical. We have nothing more special and more powerful than music. It's incredible in how it can create and abolish literal worlds. Like nothing else can really achieve that. This song is so heavenly with the vocals. And the production too. And this bridge is just so cathartic. I am obsessed with that bridge. I love Aaron Dessner and Taylor Swift collabs. They are really special to me.
There goes the last great American dynasty.
In my opinion, The Last Great American Dynasty is like one of the most interesting songs in Taylor's entire discography. Like it's just a straight up story about a lady who owned Taylor's house before she bought it. Just a story. But then Taylor takes this a step further, makes it into music, and also draws parallels between herself and that lady. The mind of this woman. The lady, of course, is Rebecca Harkness, and she was also the founder of the Harkness Foundation, which is dedicated to supporting the art of dance. I love how Taylor draws these parallels specifically because both Rebecca and Taylor are objects to very harsh criticism from either like the public or the media or neighbors or whoever. The story of this song, in my opinion, seems pretty straightforward, but that doesn't mean that it's not packed with some of the best lyrics I've ever heard in my life. Bill was the heir to the Standard Oil name and money. And the tone said, how did a middle-class divorcee do it? We're setting the scene. Rebecca remarries and she remarries rich. Get that back, queen. Already, there is some gossip. People are like, how? People are coming up with theories and everything starts. They are looking for that hot goss, if you will. I love Mean Girls. I recently rewatched it. That movie is so much fun. The doctor had told him to settle down. It must have been her fault. His heart gave out. Parts of this song, almost like specifically this one, seem like they are from the perspective of that crowd, of those neighbors, of that community. And I think it's genius. Like, of course, it's her fault that the guy had a heart attack. Like, duh. Because we don't like her. So that's probably why. There goes the last great American dynasty. Who knows if she never showed up, what could have been. There goes the maddest woman this town has ever seen. She had a marvelous time ruining everything. Again, this is another mention that in my opinion calls back to the one, you know, what would have happened if she never showed up. Also, the maddest woman this town has ever seen part, in my opinion, is such a good parallel between Rebecca and Taylor, specifically if you look at Taylor's Reputation era. She had a marvelous time ruining everything, as in others people's credibility. She later also gets called a shameless woman, and in my opinion, all of that ties back really well to Mad Women. This album is like a net, or better, like a spider web, because every single song connects to another. Like you could make an argument about a connection for every single song to every single song. And I would probably be like all for that. I would probably believe you. This entire bridge also is just, it's too perfect. They say she was seen on occasions, pacing the rocks, staring out at the midnight sea. And in a feud with her neighbor, she stole his dog and dyed it key lime green. Oh, the visionary. 50 years is a long time. Holiday house sat quietly on that beach, free of women with madness, their men and bad habits. And then it was bought by me. Like, this is one of the best bridges in the history of music. The woman fully turning into like local folklore, like a ghost pacing the rocks near the sea at night, who also was detested by her neighbors. That concept in and of itself is just crazy to me. It's so good. Also, I find it funny that people are like, oh, Taylor only writes about breakups and boyfriends and da, 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 da. Meanwhile, we have a literal song when she sings about dyeing a dog green. We love versatility. But back to the story, Rebecca eventually disappears and the holiday house stands empty on that beach until it's bought by her, aka, of course, Taylor. There goes the loudest woman this town has ever seen. I had a marvelous time ruining everything. And we continued the narrative switch and the drawing of parallels between the two life stories. I love this so much. And also the Eras Tour performance of this song is everything to me. Like the way she just like yells, the loudest woman.
There goes the loudest woman this town has ever seen.
I loved it. I really, really did. Her having a marvelous time, like ruining everything, also does kind of fill me with like joy, you know? Like, good for you. You know, everybody is so mean to you, but like, good for you that you at least had fun, you know? But also, it's not that positive because as we can tell, in Rebecca's times, people would ostracize women for some like dumb shit they made up. And it's very clear that we have not progressed much as a society because so many years later, Taylor is literally met with the same treatment. We have made no progress as a society. No progress, literally. At first, I didn't really feature this song that much because it was just in between some of my favorite songs on the entire album. This entire album was just so overwhelming for me. I was like going through it and I didn't really pay that much attention to it because it also is a little mid-tempo. It kind of stays in that realm the entire song. You are meant to focus more on the lyrics than the instrumental part, but going back to it, reading the lyrics, you know, kind of immersing myself in that world definitely helped and definitely made me enjoy the song much more. And then of course the Eras Tour performance, which is just perfect. Also, I have to know, and this is like the question for the crowd, feel free to answer in the comments. Does anybody think about Agatha Harkness when listening to this song? Like, you know, Rebecca Harkness, Agatha Harkness. I don't think I have to explain that connection, although, I don't know. I love Agatha all along. That show was just perfect. I might make a video about it one day, like a Halloween video about Agatha all along. That would be sick. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do it. Also, Agatha, you know, she had a marvelous time ruining everything because she literally did. I think I am onto something.
I think I've seen this film before, and I didn't like the ending.
Exile featuring Bon Iver. The best musical representation of miscommunication in relationships we've ever seen. Also, I do have to mention that I did get to hear this song live when I went to the Eras Tour because it was my surprise song. I went to linktr.ee, Warsaw, and it was a life-changing experience. Seeing this song and hearing it live, getting mashed up with the Black Dog of all songs was a truly religious experience. Like, I thought I was gonna faint up there. And I think that this is also the obligatory point in the video where I have to like include a video of my reaction when she started playing Exile because I was losing it. Warning for those of you who have headphones on, please lower down the volume. You have 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. But back to the song. I low-key need Taylor and Bon Iver to get back into that studio and start arguing again because man, does some magic come from that. The way it shows miscommunication, but it also shows how like similar the problems are from both sides and how similar the people are and how similar their feelings are, but there's still this like gap between them. There's still this divide that cannot be crossed. Perfect storytelling. This kind of writing is just actually like crack to me. I will always sniff it out and obsess over it. And it took you 5 whole minutes to pack us up and leave me with it, holding all this love out here in the hall. It seems that the hallway here is like a symbol for the end of the relationship. It's some sort of an end. And from this perspective, she moved on very easily. 5 minutes was enough and she is just already in a different relationship. She's already in a different place. Meanwhile, he is left with all of the baggage of the relationship to deal with. He's mad that she's moving on. I think I've seen this film before and I didn't like the ending. One of the most iconic lines in Taylor's entire discography. And this is back to the film metaphor, which I love and which I talked about before. This situation has happened before. It was painful then and it's painful now. The film is the relationship and the end is the breakup. You're not my homeland anymore. So what am I defending now? I feel like home here is the metaphor for the relationship and it can be referred to songs like Peace. There, Taylor kind of like warns her partner of the baggage that comes with loving her. Like, oh, the media, the people, they will hate you, which is kind of depressing if you think about it, but at least they're, you know, sticking together. There's this sense of like solidarity. When the relationship is over and there's no home anymore, what is there like left to defend from the outside world, from all of the enemies, from all of the media? I can see you staring, honey, like he's just your understudy. Like you get your knuckles bloody for me. Second, third, and 100th chances. Balancing on breaking branches. Those eyes add insult to injury. This entire verse is just insane. First of all, her ex looking at her new partner like an understudy, aka, you know, an actor that is meant to like take on the role of another actor just in case there's like an emergency or something. I love that concept so much. The changes we see later in the verse, everything just ties back into... I love it. We also see the imagery of like a balancing act in order to save the relationship, but it ultimately just does not work. I love the last line too, because those eyes add insult to injury. Sometimes a look can be more hurtful than like 1,000 words. I'm not your problem anymore. So who am I offending now? I think this change in lyrics kind of signifies the role in the end of the relationship. You know, like he's trying to protect it. He's trying to protect the past. He's trying to stay in it. Meanwhile, she's the one throwing daggers at it because she just wants out. He wants to retain the past and she is attacking it by walking out the side door. And then we get to the best bridge in the history of music. Literally changed lives. All this time, I never learned to read your mind. Never learned to read my mind. I couldn't turn things around. You never turned things around because you never gave a warning sign. I gave so many signs. The way they say the exact same words, but just flipped, is insane writing. I am obsessed. It feels like they're so close to each other, but yet they are so distant. It's hard to decipher who's to blame, even though she gave so many signs and he clearly never saw them. Hearing this like back and forth was a formative experience when I first heard this. And even more, I want to say, hearing this live at the Era Store when the entire crowd participated and like played one of the parts and then Taylor was singing the other. I was like over there just entering heaven. I was levitating above that stadium. It was insane. And then we get them together for the last chorus. Both of them are very clearly hurt and they are not seeing anything left to defend because they are not each other's homes anymore. When I say I love cinematic music, this is what I mean. Folklore does cinema like no album does. That's just the truth. This song feels like you're watching a movie. And actually, I don't know if it has been used in a movie before. I have no idea, but if it has, make sure to let me know. And if it hasn't, girl, these movie producers need to hurry up because this song is like literally right there. This is perfect for any romantic movie. It's also such a simple concept too, but it gets elevated to this like just beautiful piece of art. It's incredible every single time you hear it. And especially when you hear it live. Yes, I will continue flexing on you guys that I got to hear Exile live. Like, I'm sorry, that is going into my CV. That was such a formative experience for me. Like, genuinely, hearing this song for the first time, formative. But hearing this song for the first time live, nothing, no words can even describe that. Nothing comes close to that.
Look at how my tears ricochet.
My Tears Ricochet, aka my favorite Crash Out song. Yay! Although now it's kind of fighting for that title with Vodka Cranberry by Conan Gray. Incredible song, by the way. But we'll see which one prevails. This scenery for the song is a funeral. And in my opinion, it's pretty clear who it's about, you know? This is about Scott Borchetta and how he betrayed her. She took all of that hurt and made one of the most haunting and beautiful songs you'll ever hear. This instrumental is insane. The way that she gets to do this like haunting voice, almost like a ghost or like a, I don't know, like a mare. And then you get this like pure release of like anger. And it also feels like there's this defeat in the air and the battleships are actually sinking and you're actually saying goodbye because someone died in that war. Do I have to say it again? Cinema. We gather here, we line up, weeping in a sunlit room. And if I'm on fire, you'll be made of ashes too. That's what Taylor does best. She describes a place so clearly that you can literally see it in your imagination. She also kind of shows like how karma works here, if you will. You know, when she burns, you're made of ashes too. Before karma was a cat on her lap, it was ashes that her enemies turned into. This line also clearly refers to cremation, and I love that metaphor because it's literally like disposing of a body. That person tried to dispose of her, but as a result hurt themselves. I didn't have it in myself to go with grace, and you're the hero flying around saving face. And if I'm dead to you, why are you at the wake? Cursing my name, wishing I stayed. Look at how my tears ricochet. She very clearly did not go away with grace. She was very, very public about how much she did not like this deal and how much she felt betrayed by somebody who, you know, once she saw as a collaborator, as a friend. She wasn't graceful, and that's why she was criticized. And then, you know, all of the people who hurt her are trying to save face, trying to be the heroes. But ultimately, all of that is just a facade. It's a costume, and it just never works out. And when she's dead to them, they are still at the wake. You know, Scooter Braun still keeps on mentioning her name in interviews, being like, oh my God, thanks to me and thanks to that deal, we all benefited. Like, no, you did not. Shut the fuck up. We gather stones, never knowing what they'll mean. Some to throw, some to make a diamond ring. You know, I didn't want to have to haunt you, but what a ghostly scene. So the reference here is to a popular saying, which I actually didn't know before that, but don't crucify me in the comments, which is people who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Basically, people who have done something bad or have faulted shouldn't be critiquing others. But here, we see her collecting stones. Some can be thrown at others to critique them, like, you know, she did with Scooter. But she can also take those stones and make diamond rings out of them. You know, she can take all of that hurt, she can take all of those experiences and make art of them, and that art is later going to be consumed by millions. She didn't want to haunt those people, but it's like not her fault that they started something that they couldn't finish. And I can go anywhere I want, just not home. And you can aim for my heart, go for blood, but you would still miss me in your bones. And I still talk to you when I'm screaming at the sky. And when you can't sleep at night, you hear my stolen lullabies. She has the money to go everywhere she wants. You know, she is very rich. But Big Machine Records is that first label that kind of feels like home. But because they betrayed her like that, it's not a home anymore. They've been trying to hurt her reputation, but as a result, hurt their own reputation. She is still hurt and she's still screaming at the sky. But I guess good news, the people who hurt her aren't doing good either. The songs they stole from her, aka her masters, will always be a reminder of a very, very big mistake that they made and a like beginning of their downfall. The vocal in this part too is just perfection. Like when people say Taylor Swift cannot sing, play them this song. The vocal is so hauntingly beautiful, but there's some like sadness to it too. It genuinely feels like you're being like haunted by a ghost. And so the battleships will sink beneath the waves. The battle ended. There were sacrifices, but ultimately she won. She got back her masters. She became a legend thanks to the Eras tour, and they are like nothing without her anymore. This song is a magical experience, and to have it accompanied by an incredible performance at the Eras tour too is really, really cool. I remember back in the day being like kind of sad that this never got a music video, but honestly, now I don't think it needed it because the imagery is just so clear, and to have that like Eras tour performance to accompany it, I think that's such a clear visual. I can visualize that music video in my head whilst I'm listening to the song. I don't need a visual to be made. I already made it myself. That's how you create an experience, not just a song, but like a full body, full sensory experience. Mirrorball, yay! So this is the song for all the pathological people pleasers, if you will. This was a big call out, and I did not appreciate it when I first heard it. This song is so sparkly and soft, yet it kind of does feel like a kick in the stomach the first time you hear it. On my initial listen, this was the song that made me cry first, out of like a couple actually, which we're gonna get to. It's gonna be a rough patch when it comes to songs that I cried to, but I felt so called out. It was crazy. Taylor also talked about this song a little bit more in Longpond studio sessions and talked about how this can also refer to the fact that her concert dates were cancelled when the pandemic started, and so she felt like a Mirrorball because she couldn't perform for all those people, but she was still at her tiptoes. She still wanted to do it, but just couldn't. I want you to know I'm a Mirrorball. I'll show you every version of yourself tonight. This, to me, very clearly refers to her music. She's had so many different experiences in her life that we can now see through her music, and we can see ourselves in those experiences. You know, we can learn from them. We can see how maybe we've been through a similar thing to her. We can relate to her, or we can imagine ourselves in those situations. She literally shows us millions of versions of ourselves through her music, but then she falls apart into a million pieces. Hush. I know they said the end is near, but I'm still on my tallest tiptoes, spinning in my highest heels, love, shining just for you. This, I feel like, can have a lot of meaning, actually. I feel like the most likely is that this is a reference to Miss Americana when she talked about how the Lover era is probably the last time that she would be a relevant pop star and that she could actually do something with her career, which turned out to be quite not true because later she saw so much success with Folklore, Evermore, Midnights, TTPD, and of course the Eras tour, but she didn't know that at the time. It's almost like a promise that even though she would never be as big as she once was, she would still continue shining for all of her fans who would want to listen to more music from her. You're not like the regulars, the masquerade revelers, drunk as they watch my shattered edges glisten. There is a special person who sees past the drama and the media narratives, or special people, because you know, I actually kind of believe that this line might be referring to the fans and how they are able to take the music and give it a new life. I'm still on that tightrope, still trying everything to get you laughing at me. Tightrope is something you can very easily, fall off if you are not a professional acrobat. So this, in my opinion, refers to like a balancing act that you have to do when you're constructing a new era. Every new era is somewhat of a risk, especially when you're changing genres. So, for example, Folklore was that kind of balancing act because people could have just fully turned around and be like, nah, we don't like this Taylor Swift. We want the 1989 Taylor Swift back. But they didn't. And all of the risk paid out. And in her career, she's made a lot of different risks when it came to the music that she would be putting out or the performances or whatnot. And sometimes they work out. I would say most of the times they work out. Sometimes they probably don't, although I personally don't think that there's any that would be like considered like a massive flop. And all of those risks that she takes by walking on that tightrope eventually pay off. And she's still on that tightrope. She's still taking risks. And she's still trying to catch us, our attention, and have us enjoy what she's producing. And I'll show you every version of yourself tonight. This line threw me for a loop the first time I heard it because I felt like it was just so meta. Like, you're literally showing us every version of ourselves tonight when we were listening to Folklore. I felt so many different emotions when I first listened to this album, and it genuinely felt like I was unlocking new versions of myself. And I feel like this line can be referring to any night that you're listening to Taylor on, but I feel like it was specifically made to be related to Folklore's release day. That day, we all got to hear those songs for the first time, cry to them, laugh because of them, dance to them, just have full mental breakdowns because of them. And we were able to see so many different versions of ourselves in just one album. This song is insane lyrically, but I also do avoid it sometimes when I'm listening to this album because it's painful. Girl, I need therapy.
I hit my peak at 7 feet.
7 broke me the first time I heard it. I have no idea why. I genuinely don't. I don't know why that happened. I just remember having to take a break after 7, like a good 10-minute break because I was just red from crying. My face hurt. It was really bad. Thanks, I guess. This song has one of the most beautiful instrumentals I've ever heard in my life. There's a reason why it's my outro music. I love this song so much. That instrumental section between the chorus and the bridge, like God herself was in that studio. I am telling you. This song is about a childhood friend of Taylor's who seemed to be unhappy because of her home life. And I oftentimes wonder whether this is like based around an actual person she knew, or if it's just like an idea she got from somewhere, or maybe she saw or just came up with. I don't know. But nonetheless, even if it's a real person or not, this is still one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard in my life. But this is like still an insane concept to come up with for a song. Like, how do you do that? We see the concept of like childhood innocence and how all of the problems seem to be so easily solvable. Do I wish that was real sometimes? Sometimes I talk about different stuff with my sister, and for more context, she is 8 years old. And I catch myself like correcting her on things that she's saying because they just don't really fit into the adult world. They don't really fit with reality. And then I catch myself thinking, why? Like, why am I doing this? Like, I wish that was me. I wish that I could just look at world so innocently and not see all the flaws behind it, all of the hurt, all of the controversies, all of the just evil people running around everywhere. I kind of miss that innocence almost, because now that I am, older and smarter, it's just so much more difficult to enjoy life. And back then, I didn't have a problem with it. So it's almost like I lost a part of myself. I lost a part of like the joy of life. Okay, I think now I kind of understand why the song broke me that much when I first heard it. Please picture me in the trees. I hit my peak at 7, feet in the swing over the creek. I was so scared to jump in. This sets the scene so perfectly. I am obsessed. A little kid, a 7-year-old on a swing near a creek. Her life is fun, innocent. There's just so many like little adventures, but she's hesitant to jump into the creek because it's dangerous. That's so me. Like all of the kids, I remember when I was in primary school, all of the kids would like run around the playgrounds and would be jumping off of things, hanging down from it. I would never do that. From very little age, I was just like, nah, I am not breaking my legs and arms because of some stupid play or whatever. But I also think that this has some meanings that we can discuss, which also do hurt my feelings a little, because the hit my peak at 7, as in 7 was the best year of my life. I am calling the police. Oh, and she's too scared to jump into the creek, and that creek could symbolize, teenagehood and adulthood, things that she doesn't understand, things that can be like scary. And she's like too scared to jump into them because she knows that she'll lose that. I need to stop talking actually, because I will cry. Your braids like a pattern. Love you to the moon and to Saturn. Passed down like folk songs. The love lasts so long. Love you to the moon and to Saturn. I will one day get a tattoo, like inspired by that lyric, or with just that lyric. I don't know. This fucking song. Earlier, she says that she cannot recall this person's face, which is very relatable because some of my best memories from my childhood, I don't really remember how these people look like. No clue. I like remember hair colors sometimes. I don't remember the faces. I just remember the moments. That love for those memories never really disappears. And we can pass that love onto like other generations by telling the stories to, for example, like our kids or our friends' kids, and making sure that they can also have those memories of joy, those memories of love, those memories that they will be cherishing later in their lives. And I've been meaning to tell you, I think your house is haunted. Your dad is always mad, and that must be why. And I think you should come live with me, and we can be pirates. Then you won't have to cry or hide in the closet. And just like an old folk song, our love will be passed on. I am not crying today. The childlike innocence, in the sense of like, oh, we can run away, we can like build a base, take our backpacks and everything will be fine, hide in the woods or whatever. But that just doesn't fix the problems. She is trying to make her best friend feel better, but she's just 7 and she doesn't really know how to fix the situation. Please picture me in the weeds. Before I learned civility, I used to scream ferociously anytime I wanted. Before she grew up, she was free and she could scream whenever she wanted. But as she grew up, there are norms and expectations put on her and put on other children that limit that true childlike freedom and kind of make you into an adult that is supposed to fit into, you know, society. Many kids, and that includes me, I also had those thoughts, really want to be adults when they're young because they associate adulthood with like power and freedom. But actually, it's everything but that. It's just not even close to what freedom you can have as a child. Actually, I think it's the other way around. I think adulthood is a trap. But also from experience and talking with other people, I know that many adults are just like kind of faking it till they make it, and to just, you know, fit into society or at least seem like they're good, but actually they're not. But as a kid, you can't really fake that good. So that is also another freedom. You're just yourself. You're just living your truth authentically every single day. And as an adult, you learn how to pretend. And also you learn not to scream anymore. Pack your dolls and a sweater. We'll move to India forever. I am not surviving this section. Oh my God.
Trauma, PTSD, trauma, generational trauma, trauma, rage and trauma, PTSD, trauma, post-traumatic stress.
This is the furthering of innocence. This is, you know, just pack your dolls, pack your sweaters. We'll move to India forever. Not necessarily thinking about like what equipment you need to go to India or what's gonna be like, what's the weather gonna be or how we're gonna get there. It's just the childlike idea of what an adventure is, of what you need. You just don't have the experience to do anything more. This song is gonna break me again. I can listen to it just fine normally, but like analyzing it it's a little much. I love this song, but I also hate it because, girl, this is just the definition of emotional damage. This is one of the most beautiful pieces of music ever created and one of the most beautiful pieces of just like poetry ever written. It's insane. I feel like I've never truly felt that way when I listen to any other song. Like, I don't think I've ever had a song make me feel like this many different conflicting emotions like 7. This is the most beautiful song to ever exist. Ever, ever, ever. Forever and ever. Truly, nothing is ever gonna be more beautiful to me than 7 is. I just hope that like this section makes somewhat sense for you when you're watching it. I guess my love for this song is gonna last very long, and I hope that it does get passed down like folk songs.
August slipped away into a moment in time, 'cause it was never mine.
So now is the time that we all come together and say thank you to Taylor Swift for inventing the month of August. How iconic of her. Also, very iconic was when she performed on the 1st of August in Warsaw. That was the first date that I didn't get to attend to. I went to night 3, but she said sierpień, which is the Polish word for August, and it was very cute. I loved like Taylor speaking different languages on the Eras tour. That was really fun. Okay, so cinematic is a term I've thrown around a lot in this video already, but like this is it. This is the final boss of the cinema. I've never seen The Summer I Turned Pretty. I don't want to see it, actually. I don't know. I have conflicting emotions about that show, but I feel like this song is like kind of fitting for like the story or like the aesthetic of it. Also, hats off to Jack Antonoff for producing one of the best instrumentals in the history of music. Like, you cooked, bro. I love Jack Antonoff. You will never make me hate Jack Antonoff. He gave us Reputation and he gave us this. Like, how do you not say iconic? And say summer romance, summer fling, near the sea, where the air is salty and the doors get rusty because of it. It's, oh, the setting of the scenes. In my opinion, most of the storytelling in this song is actually done through the instrumental. It's epic, it's movie-like, but there's this undertone of like sadness and melancholy to it. August slipped away into a moment in time. And later, August sipped away like a bottle of wine. I love this switch in lyrics because first, it slipped away, as in it was fast, it ended, but it sipped away, as in it lasted for a period and it was enjoyable during that period. You're back beneath the sun, wishing I could write my name on it. Will you call when you're back at school? I remember thinking I had you. You guys will hate me, but the first thing I thought about when I looked at these lyrics to prepare for this video was Conan Gray's new music videos that he's been releasing for this song and for Vodka Cranberry, which tell a story of basically, I would call it a summer romance between two characters of Will and Bran, or I forgot what his name was. I know that their ship name is Will Bran, and I do ship them. Vodka Cranberry, Conan, I am on your ass for that music video because they will get back together, right? Also, let me know in the comments below if you want a video about Wishbone when it finally comes out, because I am so excited for that album. Back when we were still changing for the better, one thing was enough. For me, it was enough. This means the time of teenagehood, when we grow up into our adult forms that are meant to be like better than our teenage forms. Back then, you're also not as experienced when it comes to like relationships or what you really need or what you want as a person. So just wanting the other person seems like what love should be like, but it really, really isn't. To live for the hope of it all. Cancel plans just in case you'd call and say, meet me behind them all. So much for summer love and saying us, cause you weren't mine to lose. Poor gal. Wanting him was enough for her. She was ready to do so much for this relationship, but he truly never belonged to her. Like, poor Augustine. I am so sorry. I will forever be a James hater. Like, that man does not deserve my respect. He toyed with the emotions of not one, but two different girls. And I don't care that he has social fucking anxiety. That is never okay. Get your shit together. I also love the Meet Me Behind the Mall bar because of the lore of it. The Taylor like wrote it down a couple years back, wanting to put it into a song, and now it finally made it into a song, and it makes perfect sense for a summer fling song. It's perfect. I love moments like that. This song is perfect, even though this man is a walking red flag. Like, both Augustine and Betty deserve better. I was there in that story and I was the one, you know, sassy gay friend. I would be like, no girl, let's go and have manicures or whatever. You're not calling him back. Also, the Eras Tour performance. I keep mentioning the Eras Tour so much in this video, but her like running from one side to the other of the stage is in that beautiful dress. It's just so free. Like, I want to do that, but like in a field with this song in my ears. That would be a fun experience.
I just wanted you to know that this is me trying.
This is me trying, aka another very, very sad song. I am not doing well. Track 9 is also like such a superior category of songs if you really think about it, because like track 5 is the famous one because they're always meant to be sad, right? But track 9? Track 9s are always the best. Like Guilty as Sin, Bejeweled, Enchanted, Getaway Car. Like, come on. Taylor talked about this song in Long Pond Studio Sessions and how this song is about the people who struggle in life and they're trying to get better, but they also like have the need to talk about it with somebody. Sometimes that in and of itself is an effort of trying. The first time I heard this song, I kind of blacked out, not gonna lie. I didn't really register it that well. I just kind of, I guess I knew what it was about. I knew that it was sad. I was sad because of it, but like, I'm honestly kind of glad that it didn't like register to me what it was specifically about, and I didn't catch some of the lyrics. Maybe I was still numb after 7, and then going from 7 into August was just like such a roller coaster. I was like, I am not featuring any of what is going on right now, but I'm actually kind of happy that I didn't catch the song, because ooh, that would have been another breakdown. I've been having a hard time adjusting. I had the shiniest wheels, now they're rusting. If you've never felt like this, again, I am jealous. I feel like this is for the like academically gifted kids, if you know what I'm saying. Like I was one of those kids. I was doing really, really well in primary school. I never really had to study because I just understood everything because I was smart. Thanks to all of that gifted school kid energy you have, you get a lot of validation. You are made to feel like you're special. But then you go into high school and eventually into like uni or whatever you do after high school. And all of that just goes away. And you're not made to feel special anymore. You're just made to feel like shit, honestly, over and over again. You're not good enough. And you are not meant to be special because you're meant to be a part of a society. You're not meant to be like distinguishable from it. As a kid, you're made to feel like you're special or like you matter, or at least you should be. But when you grow up, you actually realize how small you are and how insignificant you can be. I also think that this could like relate to Taylor's career. You know, once she was a new thing and the new artist, the new sensation that was growing, but now she's like a regular in the industry. You know, she doesn't have that special factor to her anymore. That is that, you know, that freshness, the debut, the, oh, what she's gonna do next. Everybody already kind of knows her, so she doesn't feel like a news story anymore to people. Also, her wheels aren't shining because they've been worn out because of how the media has treated her. Pulled the car off the road to the lookout. Could have folded my fears all the way down. And maybe I don't quite know what to say, but I'm here in your doorway. I just wanted you to know that this is me trying. I mean, the correlation of these lines to Hoax is crazy. The contemplation over like ending it all, being defeated in favor of trying to look for help and showing up on that doorstep, not necessarily knowing what to say, but just needing someone's presence. That must be like a really, really difficult experience, I think. And the not knowing what to say, you can't really put those feelings into words. It's just something that we know without communicating, really. They told me all of my cages were mental, so I got wasted like all my potential, and my words shoot to kill when I'm mad. I have a lot of regrets about that. I was so ahead of the curve became a sphere, fell behind all my classmates, and I ended up here, pouring out my heart to a stranger, but I didn't pour the whiskey. As that overachiever, the academic weapon, if you will, kid that was like good at school, just to then later be met with the harsh realities of the world and how little you actually matter in the full grand scheme of the earth, of the world, of the global population. This hits so hard. The being ahead of the curve that it becomes a sphere. I've never really had words to like describe that feeling. I felt that many times. And then Taylor Swift just shows up casually and does this. And I'm like, okay, great. Where are the hidden cameras? The falling behind the classmates too. Don't even get me started on that. This can also, of course, be referred to alcoholism. You have the pouring out the heart to a stranger, but not pouring the whiskey. This is a very, very strong gesture when you're dealing with something like addiction. And it's hard to be at a party when I feel like an open wound. It's hard to be anywhere these days when all I want is you. You're a flashback in a film reel on the one screen in my town. Taylor just has a way with like words, you know? She has a gift. The feeling like an open wound. And being at a party, girl. And also, this is another one of those film metaphors that we get. This song has a beautiful instrumental to it as well. It almost feels like a feeling of like dread almost, of like talking to somebody about your problems. That is insane. It's like so muted, but there's this like depressing undertone to it. I am very happy to move on from this. Let's just go into illicit affairs.
That's the thing about illicit affairs.
Okay, so hi, hello. This is day 2 of me recording, and I had to stop around illicit affairs because I was just recording for a little too long. For context, before editing, that first part is an hour and 40 minutes long. because I was just yapping so much. A lot of it already got cut out because I've already edited like 30 minutes of it. It's the next day for more context. Also, there was a 20-minute section in that where I just had a full-on breakdown because of 7. So that was fun. And now that it is the next day, I am here to talk about the next few songs on Folklore. Now we're going to be talking about illicit affairs, of course. So infidelity is like a topic that Taylor has sang a lot about recently, actually. I don't really think that like prior to illicit affairs, she's really done it. I mean, I feel like she has, but like not in this way. So in a way, illicit affairs is like the trendsetter. You know, you cannot outdo the doer. This song shows how those kinds of relationship can leave you on such a high when you need it, but can also cause so much more hurt. This bridge is of course legendary. Like there's no way around that. It is legendary. It's one of the best bridges she's ever done. But I do have to say that hearing it live at the Era store definitely changed my perception of the song. And now this is like kind of like a Who's Afraid of Little Old Me situation for me. If you watched my Tortured Poets video where I talked about that song, where the Eras Tour performance is just so good that it kind of hinders my relationship with the studio track, if that makes sense. Like I don't really go back to listen to Illicit Affairs like on its own. When it's in the album, I will listen to it. I won't skip it because it's a great song. But that performance at the Eras Tour is just epic. And that's like literally, it's just the last chorus in the bridge. And it still is like one of the best things to have ever happened to me. I love how this song starts off quietly. It's almost like you kind of see and feel the secrets of this affair. It's very secretive, it's very quiet, it's very like, you know, sneaking around. But then around the bridge, you see this like release of anger, this release of frustration, and it's no longer quiet. I mean, I love storytelling for music. The first verse describes how the affair looks like. My favorite line probably would be, "What started in beautiful rooms ends with meetings in parking lots." This shows the degradation of the feeling, if you know what I'm saying. At first, it's a high, but then it becomes mundane and it isn't as interesting anymore. I almost feel like this could be referred to The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived, where, you know, we get the very, very famous line, "It wasn't sexy once it wasn't forbidden." These two songs go so well together now that I'm thinking about it. Oh, and also both of them have those really, really cathartic bridges. They are kind of like sisters in a way. It's born from just one single glance, but it dies and it dies and it dies. A million little times. It's so easy to fall into that kind of relationship, but then it just kind of falls apart so long. It kind of just like refuses to die because you still have the feeling for the other person. You're kind of torn between, do I want to leave or do I want to stay, or do I want to keep this a secret, or do I want to be open about it? It's a really, really like tough situation to decide what you want to do in. Take the words for what they are. A dwindling mercurial high. A drug that only worked the first few hundred times. This woman and her lyricism, god damn it. She keeps getting hurt by this relationship over and over again, but she still stays in it, refuses to leave. And then of course, we have the legendary bridge. And you wanna scream, "Don't call me kid, don't call me baby. Look at this godforsaken mess that you made me. You showed me colors, you know, I can see with anyone else." The magic comes from the fact that it's an affair, thus what you experience in it differs from what you would experience in a regular relationship. The colors aren't the same, and you know that you will never experience something like that again outside of that affair. Same with the like secret language lyric that we see later on in the bridge. This song is insane, and the concepts that this woman comes up with never fail to amaze me. I genuinely love this song. I think the way that it describes that kind of rush of emotions in an affair is crazy good, and I don't really feel like I've ever seen anything like this before.
Invisible string tying you to me.
Invisible String, aka my intro music. Hey, I love this song so much. The chord progression alone just like engraved into my mind. I could probably like sing that melody in my sleep. I can't really play it yet. I am learning how to play a guitar, by the way, but that is a little out of my skill range at the moment, but I'm working on it. This whole song is just so soft. It is almost like a good prophecy, a hug everything I love. After all of the sadness of this album, because this is a really depressing project, this song is almost like a pat on the back and like a reassurance that like everything is gonna be fine. Everything is gonna lead you to where you're supposed to be. All of that will be a web made of invisible strings that are gonna lead you to the one. Madam Web. Her web connects them all. I unironically love that movie because it was so bad that it was good again. You know what I'm saying? But maybe I should probably like refer to the Spider-Verse movies here because they were slightly better, and I love the idea of the web in the second one. I don't remember what it was called, but there was the whole web that was connecting like the different multiverses. That was fun. This song is quite straightforward, but I love how it presents the idea of fate. Green was the color of the grass where I used to read on Centennial Park. I don't know what that place is, and I probably pronounced it wrong. I love this line so much because it reminds me, every single time I listen to this song, it reminds me of that meme that somebody made. I don't know who that was, but like the green was the color of the grass that you need to touch. I use it a little too often, honestly. Time, curious time, gave me no compasses, gave me no signs. It's the question of were there clues that I maybe didn't see, or maybe things that I didn't realize before that were leading me to this place. It almost feels like I was going like blind. I was surrounded by a fog and I didn't really see where I was going. I had no compass. There were no signs leading me anywhere. And isn't it just so pretty to think all along there was some invisible string tying you to me? I love this idea of fate and how it connects everything together. It's so much like fun to think about stuff like this. I don't know if I believe in it, but I think seeing it being talked about here is still really, really interesting to me. Unlike in, for example, like Greek mythology, you don't get a prophecy, you don't get that compass to guide you, but actually the lack of knowledge is what is gonna like bring you to the place that you should be at. A string that pulled me out of all the wrong arms, right into that dive bar. Something wrapped all of my past mistakes in barbed wire. Chains around my demons, wool to brave the seasons. One single thread of gold, tie me to you. I adore this bridge for so many reasons. Firstly, we get like more metaphors to describe that fate and its power, but also you learn because of those mistakes you made in the past. In a way, those mistakes guide you to the correct ending. After she learns from her mistakes, she's able to find that one single thread of gold. Cold was the steel of my axe to grind for the boys who broke my heart. Now I send their babies presents. And she literally does. I love this so much. And the best line in this entire song is obviously, hell was the journey, but it brought me heaven. Obsessed. This sums up this song so well because you have the hurtful mistakes that you make, but because you suffered in the past, you can now relish in heaven. This song feels retrospective. It almost feels like a diary entry, and you know I love those. And that instrumental just speaks for itself. This song is literal perfection, and it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard in my life. Love it so much.
And there's nothing like a mad woman. What a shame she went mad.
Mad Woman. Oh, Mad Woman. I will never forget hopping onto the live stream of the Eras Tour to see what the surprise songs were and to hear her mash this song up with Cassandra and I Did Something Bad. Like, girl, that was crazy. This song was described by Taylor herself in Longpond Studio Sessions as female rage, specifically referring to the instrumental. And here, I really see it. This piano is very ominous. There's this sense of like danger and anger bubbling underneath it, but it still remains composed, beautiful, and you almost have this sense of like something is holding back. This song is about how people view the so-called mad women as delusional, think their anger and their emotions are not justified when they are the ones causing them in the first place. Every time you call me crazy, I get more crazy. What about that? And when you say I seem angry, I get more angry. When you say something to her, you should expect a response. You know, that's like the singing back to haters. She said that she will stop singing to the haters when they stop coming at her. I think this also touches on stuff that Taylor has done in the past of her career. Specifically, I'm thinking about Blank Space. That song really like toys around with the idea of craziness and lack of rationality in Taylor's actions. It also is a play on the media narrative that surrounded her at the time. But I think that is actually portrayed a little better in the next couple lines. And you'll poke that bear, till her claws come out, and you'll find something to wrap your noose around. And there is nothing like a mad woman. What a shame she went mad. You provoke her, and then you get a reason to turn on her. Say that she's, going crazy, and then you can punish her. I hate bringing this one up, but this really feels like a reference to the Kanye situation, doesn't it? Like, she got cancelled for... what exactly? She just tried to defend her honor, and people were like, oh my god, she's lying. And suddenly everybody was like, with pitchforks and torches, just being like, oh no, we hate Taylor Swift. Like, it's not like she did anything hurtful. She didn't hurt anybody. What's the point then? Meanwhile, men get away with way more than that. Look at Chris Brown. Look at Kanye West. He's literally over there on Twitter being a full-blown Nazi, and people are still like, oh, he's the GOAT because he made Graduation, or I think that's the name of the album. I've never listened to it, and I never will, because no. Now I breathe flames each time I talk. My cannons all firing at your yacht. They say move on, but I won't. And women like hunting witches too, doing your dirtiest work for you. The idea of like moving on is something that people love. Using against Taylor, we've already spoken about that. When someone hurt you like that, you don't just simply move on. Also, people were saying that like Kim didn't necessarily get enough whacking for what she did back during the Reputation era. But honestly, I feel like she kind of did. I mean, look at Mad Women. Like, this is literally calling out the women who are complicit in men bullying and punishing and hunting other women. She literally did the dirtiest work for her husband. I also love the imagery of cannons, and I feel like that ties back to Mighty's Ricochet, where we see, the scenery of a battle between ships. Also, is it just me, or does this song reference the Salem trials? The Salem witch trials? Because you have the hunting witches, you have wrapping around the noose. I think that's such a clever concept for this song, honestly, because sometimes it genuinely feels like when you're logging onto the internet and you're seeing what the hell people are saying on Twitter, on TikTok, or wherever, it genuinely feels like a witch hunt or a hunt for women in power. The Master of Spin has a couple side flings. Good wives always know. She should be mad, should be scathing like me. No one likes a mad woman. This song calls out not just men, but also women who are complicit, just like I said before. All of those people are at fault for the madness, not the woman who is mad herself. Trying to stand up to a man is almost seen as an act of disrespect, a sign of insanity, regardless of what he's done or what she's done. We've seen this like time and time again, and how the media loves to bully women. We've seen this with the Amber Heard trials. We've seen this with Blake Lively. We've seen this with Kesha. Women don't have it easy, and this song shows that off very clearly. The double standard and the almost like immediate crossing off of a woman when she does something mad is crazy to me. Like, no one can tell me that cancel culture isn't biased, because it absolutely is. And again, just like I spoke in the last Great American Dynasty section, it would seem that because of all the technological advancements we've made, that we have progressed as a society, but clearly we have not learned nothing. The human nature still remains very faulty.
But you dream of some epiphany.
Hey, third song that broke me on my initial listen. Send help. Epiphany is up next, and I hate this song so much for the way that it makes me feel every single time I listen to it, and the way it made me felt when I first listened to it. It's so beautiful, so gorgeous, so good. Everything about it is perfect, but I hate it with a burning passion. So even more context, my first listen to this album was in the middle of the night because I couldn't sleep. This is like the most like night sounding song to ever exist. It was perfect for that setting. And then also hearing those lyrics whilst also, living through a global pandemic. No, the people who don't get this song, I actually have a lot of questions to those people, because like, why? Like, what is wrong? What's not clicking? Because I feel like this is such a relatable song with everything that we've gone through as a society in the recent years. It's really relatable, and I don't understand why certain people hate it. This song is the most gorgeous thing I have ever heard. It has this like mix of like sadness with depression, but also with a sense of purpose and like strength. It's just, I've never experienced anything like this before or since. Aaron Dessner, I salute to you for that instrumental, because this is high art. Hang this in the Louvre. I don't care that this is a song. Hang this in the Louvre. I also think that the weaving of the metaphors between the doctors and the war veterans is just technically a very simple concept, but it's just so... I don't even have words for it. Sir, I think he's bleeding out, and some things you just can't speak about. And that later gets paraphrased into, Doc, I think she's crashing out, and some things you just can't speak about. The way this shows how the horrors persist even if the settings are different is crazy. Those are experiences that you can't just simply talk about. It's too difficult to word them. They are distressing. It's the loss of lives, the sadness, the grief. It's very overwhelming. And the worst part about it is that the horrors don't just go away. They don't just end. They persist and they reinvent themselves into new forms of evil. Like just look at what's happening currently in Gaza with Israel committing all of those crimes against humanity over there. Those are horrors that are not and will not be easy to talk about. The endless cycle of suffering and violence just never comes to an end. Only 20 minutes to sleep, but you dream of some epiphany. Just one single glimpse of relief to make some sense of what you've seen. There's a need for a sign that can help you make sense of all of that pain that you're witnessing or experiencing, but that idea is in vain because there is no sign. There's no bigger explanation to it all. What you're seeing isn't normal, or at least it isn't supposed to be normal, and that's why it's so hard to swallow it and to deal with it. This is also a reference to how medical professionals would work during the pandemic and how oftentimes they would have to work from 12-hour shifts to even 48-hour shifts and would only have very little time to sleep in between those shifts. This shows the sacrifice of those people, but also the poor conditions and the lack of appreciation of others for the literal life-saving that they are doing. I remember very well how during the pandemic there was a lot of discourse around healthcare workers, which was just crazy because some people were so disrespectful to them. Like, they are the only reason so many people survived that pandemic, and this is how we say thank you? With you I serve, with you I fall down. What you breathe in, what you breathing out. So this could be a reference to trying to save someone's life because of COVID, but I actually think that this is a reference to a panic attack. With so little time to sleep and so much pressure, the conditions are just unlivable. Stress can take such a heavy toll on a person, especially when it's this constant. This could be like that moment of calming down after seeing something horrific, or because of just in general the pressure of everything around you being on your shoulders. The first line also refers to soldiers and their loyalty to their country. When the country falls, so do they. This song is one of the most beautiful things, but also one of the saddest things I've ever heard. And I will continue saying that until I'm in the casket, like genuinely. It's appreciating the work done in horrible conditions for the sole purpose of saving other people's lives.
But if I just showed up at your party, would you have me? Would you want me?
Betty is our last song of the Love Triangle, like trilogy. And I would say that this is like the happiest song on the entire album. This song is from the perspective of James, who, as you might already know, I am not necessarily the biggest fan of, but that doesn't matter because the song slaps. I was having the time of my life when she played it as a part of the Folklore set at the Era store. Like, genuinely, you have to imagine this. My entire section sat down. I was the only one in that section dancing through Betty. Disrespectful. All of those people should have been kicked out of that stadium. You cannot disrespect Betty like that. You get off your ass and start dancing to Betty now.
This is not good. Why are you saying this?
You!
Like, y'all hear this harmonica-infused banger and don't want to dance? What is wrong with you people? This country-ass song is so much fun. On that initial listen, it was literally everything I needed, especially after something like Epiphany. Like, after Epiphany, I had to take a break. I was sitting there for like a good amount of time, just fully like drowning in my tears, and then Betty comes on and I'm like, okay, what is she expecting me to like go and shake my ass now? Because I will be like Sminty Drop doing her exit on Drag Race UK, being like sad twerking. This song is, of course, about James showing up at Betty's doorstep and asking for her forgiveness. Betty should have just closed that door on him, but okay. Especially, like, according to Taylor, they did get back together. I have opinions about that. Betty, one time, I was riding on my skateboard. When I passed your house, it's like I couldn't breathe. Wow, if it isn't the consequences of your own actions. I am such a James hater. I am sorry. I hope that there aren't like James stans watching this video, because this is not a friendly environment for you guys. But if I just showed up at your party, would you have me? Would you want me? Would you tell me to go fuck myself or lead me to the garden? In the garden, would you trust me if I told you it was just a summer thing? I'm only 17. I don't know anything, but I know I missed you. I gotta say, this chorus goes so hard. But also, okay, he is 17, so I guess he can make mistakes, but like, just because he's young and dumb doesn't mean that like cheating is okay. You know, I feel like it's a commonly understandable truth that cheating is just not it, no matter if you're 17 or if you're like 5 years old. I don't think age makes a difference here. 17 is, in my opinion, old enough to know that cheating is a bad thing to do to somebody. I also like this as a callback to Cardigan. You know, there we have the line of, when you are young, they assume you know nothing. So he knows nothing. But about Betty, it is assumed that she knows nothing, despite the fact that she knows like everything. I don't like James. I don't know if I've made it clear in this video already. I don't like James. I was nowhere to be found. I hate the crowds. You know that. Plus, I saw you dance with him. Excuses? Excuses. Excuses. Oh, I hate the crowds. Oh, no. Shut the fuck up. This, I think, means that there was like some sort of like, I don't know, school dance, and he went away when likely Betty would have wanted to dance with him, and then went back in, saw her dancing with someone else, and got mad at her. So then he went to cheat. Girl, this man sounds like such a douche. Also, insecurity, which that I actually get, because I feel like the older you are, you should probably be less insecure about, you know, how people treat you and about your relationships. But like, still, this just feels extremely like territorial behavior almost. But then he, of course, does apologize. And even though I don't really like him, it's clear that he does care and he does want to make things up with Betty. He planned it out for weeks and he's really like nervous about it. Like, okay, good for him. I still don't like him. At least the intention is there, you know? Standing in your cardigan, kissing in my cardigan, stopped at the street light, you know I missed you. The way this outro wraps up the entire storyline of Cardigan, August, and Betty is incredible writing. This is how you wrap up a story. This is incredible. I might not be a James stan, but this song is just absolutely phenomenal. And I am not kidding when I say this. This is one of my favorite Taylor Swift songs to ever exist. It's just so youthful, so joyful. I really love it. Although, James, I am watching you.
No, I can never give you peace.
The entire idea behind peace is honestly kind of depressing. Like, oh, I could never give you peace because all of those people hate me and they will always follow me wherever I go. Like, that's a really sad thing to like talk about. But for a song about not being able to give somebody peace, it's incredibly peaceful with its instrumental and with the way that it's sung. And I think that has meaning. It's really toned down because maybe they've already found that peace. You know, Taylor might not feel like that, but there are multiple ways of achieving a state of peace in life. But I'm a fire and I'll keep your brittle heart warm. If you cascade, ocean waves, blues come. All these people think love's for show, but I would die for you in secret. The devil's in the details, but you got a friend in me. Would it be enough if I could never give you peace? This is one of the most beautifully written choruses I've ever seen. I'll do all of these things for you. I'll bring warmth and safety and loyalty, but not peace, because all of those people treat my life like it's a reality show. This also shows how different they are. You know, Taylor is the fire and he is the ocean. They are so different that she cannot be sure whether he will accept that lack of peace. And you know that I'd swing with you for the fences, sit with you in the trenches, give you my world, give you a child, give you the silence that only comes when two people understand each other. The dedication is clear. She wants to do whatever she can to keep this person. She will go through it all if he only wants her. Analyzing this song and knowing about some of the other songs that she's written for the Tortured Poets department really does change my perspective on it, unfortunately. Let's not get sad again, shall we?
I'm so happy! I'm very unhappy!
But there's robbers to the east, clowns to the west. I'd give you my sunshine, give you my best, but the rain is always gonna come if you're standing with me. Everywhere there are enemies, everywhere there are people who are ready to rain on her parade, and even if she does her best, it's clear that that factor of her life doesn't depend on her. I think that this song is honestly like the ultimate I love you in her entire discography. There are some love songs that she has that are maybe more epic, but this one shows the dedication and the readiness for sacrifices in such a way that I don't think any other Taylor Swift song shows. You're warning the other person, but you also are ready to do everything in order to protect them. It has a little bit of that like it's us against the world energy, which I don't know if I love, but like actually, no. In this context, I do love it. I also love how some of these lines are sung because they are very, very long. And at times she sings them like really, really fast. It's almost messy, slightly chaotic. It's slightly messy, but I feel like it's on purpose because this song feels like an actual conversation that you would have with a loved one. It is a mix between a song and a conversation. She's saying all of that to her lover, and partially it lends itself into music, and I think that's beautiful. This was honestly one of the songs that I kind of blanked on when I first heard it. I mean, this is song number 15. I was already tired, but like, I think with time, this has really grown on me, and I really, really like this song.
Your faithless love's the only hoax I believe in.
The last song on the standard edition of this album is called Hoax, and this is one of the saddest songs in her entire discography, honestly. Going through the lyrics to this song after hearing TTPD again, really, really painful, honestly. This song depicts the struggle in letting go of a toxic relationship that isn't working out. It does kind of tie back to illicit affairs in my opinion, but it certainly ties to some songs on TTPD as well. It's so somber, dark, melancholic in a way. Good shit. I also cried to this when I first heard it. So this is like song number, what, 4, 5 that I cried to? I think somewhere around that. This song Taylor described as one that is almost about a few different fractured situations. It's slightly frantic, and she also talked about how she was unsure of it until Aaron Dessner said, "Go and do the thing that makes you uncomfortable." Because that's growth. Stood on the cliffside screaming, "Give me a reason. Your faithless love's the only hoax I believe in. Don't want no other shade of blue but you. No other sadness in the world would do." She's miserable, but that's what she wants. That's what she needs. She cannot just leave that environment. The standing on the cliffside imagery kind of reminds me of This Is Me Trying as well. Also, describing love as a hoax. Pain, my best laid plan, your sleight of hand, my barren land. I am ash from your fire. I love how this connects to both Mitres, Ricochet and Peace. She's the fire that brings warmth to this relationship, but she burns out and there's only ash left. But then again, we know that she is a phoenix, always rising from the ashes from You're Losing Me, even if that makes her feel very tired. The sleight of hand, I would say, is also a way that the lover kind of strings her along, making her believe in the hoax. You know, I left a part of me back in New York. You knew the hero died, so what's the movie for? You knew it still hurt underneath my scars from when they pulled me apart. You knew the password, so I let you in the door. You knew you won, so what's the point of keeping score? So this is another film reference. We know it's ending, so why is it needed anymore? At this point, nothing matters. That's why she lets him in the door. The battle is over, the ships are sinking, so why continue the fighting? The scars are ripped apart by people who she lets into her life and who then betray her. My only one, my kingdom come undone. My broken drum, you have beaten my heart. My broken drum, you have beaten my heart because it literally stopped beating for you. I am sick to my stomach. That is so sad. And to end an album like this is crazy work. But I also kind of love it. And they are kind of two alternative ways to end this relationship. One is moving on, but still having those thoughts about the what ifs. And the other one is dwelling in the sadness. So this is the official end of the album. But because I knew that there would be people asking for that in the comments, if there are even gonna be people watching it. By the way, if you've made it this long, say hi in the comments. I would really, really appreciate it. I love making long videos, by the way. I know that this is probably like very, very long, but if you stick through it all, I love you so much. And now for that little treat, because you made it to the end, I love you. Let's talk about the bonus track for Folklore. That is, of course, The Lakes.
Take me to the lakes where all the poets went to die. I don't belong.
This is one of my favorite songs of all time. This is literally like the most escapist song I've ever heard in my life. Running away to the lakes, living in nature and poetry. Yeah, that would be fun. The will to just go away and isolate yourself in the woods with the one that you love. I love this concept so much. This song is perfect, and it also contains several words that I didn't know before. This was like the first time I ever had to like pull out a dictionary whilst I was listening to music. I mean, this entire album, there were some words that I didn't know, but this song was really just like, this song hits you over the head with the vocabulary that Taylor has. Because what do you mean? It contains words like elegies, eulogize, sleaze, calamitous, insurmountable. Like, girl, okay, we get it. You're a poet. But no, truly, she is a poet. She belongs amongst them, and she is not cut out for the hunters with cell phones or the cynical clones. And honestly, neither am I. I feel her. What should be over, burrowed under my skin in heart-stopping waves of hurt. I've come too far to watch some name-dropping sleaze. Tell me, what are my words worth? She finally knows her worth and the worth of what she writes, that being, of course, her art, her music. She won't let all of those people just narrow her experiences down to just like breakup songs. Take me to the lakes where all the poets went to die. I don't belong, and my beloved, neither do you. Those Windermere peaks look like a perfect place to cry. I'm setting off, but not without my muse. This is literally like my dream scenario. I love forests, I love lakes, I love nature, I love not having like service, I love running away, I love romantic runaway stories. It's just everything about this just screams me. I love this song so much. Also, now I do kind of want to go to the Windermere peaks. I feel like I would love it there. I want auroras and sad prose. I want to watch wisteria grow right over my bare feet, because I haven't moved in years, and I want you right here. A red rose grew up out of ice-frozen ground, with no one around to tweet it, while I bathe in cliffside pools with my calamitous love and insurmountable grief. Literally my dream. This is the purest form of escapism, and it kind of hits too close to home at times. Also, we see the lack of service here a little, because like no one around to tweet it. I took that literally the first time I heard it, and I still think that that can be like a possible interpretation for that line. Like, there is nowhere around to tweet about it, to spread rumors about what she's doing, to make articles about it, to log on Twitter and overly analyze where she's going or what she's doing or what she's writing about. Essentially, the dream. This song just sounds like an escape into the unknown and like reconnecting with nature and your inner artist and going away from all of that civilization bullshit. I love this. I really, really do. So this is the end of my little analysis of every single track on Folklore. But before you go and before I go, I want to have some parting words about this album. In my opinion, this album has two sides to it. The first one is the kind of more escapist one. You know, it's running away to these fictional scenarios, fictional worlds that you can just dive into and forget about reality. But the other side is really like down to earth and really current, and it reminds you of all of those feelings and all of that hurt that you were experiencing literally like at the time of listening to it. So in a way, it kind of eases your mind in two different ways, because it not only makes you feel seen in all of the hurt that you're experiencing, but it also gives you a place that you can like escape to where all of those problems are non-existent. It gives you a place of refuge, but it also helps you deal with all of that shit once you are ready to come out of that place of refuge. And I think in both ways that can be helpful, and it definitely was helpful for me. It's such a special and magical project. Like, there is this trend online that I've noticed a couple of years back, where people would be like, oh, if you lost your memory, what album would you like listen to first? And my answer is really, really clear. Folklore would be that album. I would love to be able to experience this album all over again. I think that would be incredible. So, okay, I tried ranking these songs, but honestly, I gave up really, really quickly. I did that with the Tortured Poets Department. I ranked the entire album, but here, I am just unable to do that. Like, this album means too much for me to just like rank it and put one of the songs last. Like, I cannot do that. So I'm just gonna give you my top 5, and I hope that you will be satisfied with that. So my 5th favorite would be Betty. Don't think I have to explain it. It's a banger. I love that song so much. My 4th is Epiphany. For a very long time, it was my first, but it's also not a song that I come back to often because it's really, really sad and really, really hurtful, but I still have like a very, very big attachment to it. My 3rd is going to be Exile. Actually, it was never in my top 5 until I heard it live. And that made me develop like a really, really special connection to the song. My 2nd is, of course, The Lakes. Perfect song. Genuinely perfect song. And it really does mean a lot to me. And my 1st song is the song that caused me to have a 20 minutes breakdown in the first part of this video. That, of course, being 7. And that brings me to the end of this video. It's been a long time. This video is gonna be really, really long. But again, I love long form content. Wherever a YouTube recommendation pops up with like a 3-hour video about some like random topic that I have not heard about in years, I will always be sad. I will always be watching. So I hope that this video finds the right people. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for sticking around till the end if you made it. If you made it, by the way, please tell me in the comments below. I would really, really appreciate hearing that. That would be really, really fun. Let me know what you thought of the video, what you thought of my analysis. Maybe you can give me more context of what your story with Folklore is or how you interpret the songs. I would really, really love to read what you guys think about this album. Also, remember to please subscribe to my channel. We are on our way to 2,000 subscribers. That would be really, really cool to reach by the end of August. Also, remember to like the video. You can always share it around, and you can follow me on all of my socials, which are listed in the description box below. And most importantly, go and stream Folklore. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for sticking around. I will see you very soon. And until then, take care. Bye.